Hello?
Hey, Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hey. Okay. How are you?
Good.
Good. You look older. What happened in the last week or so? You're starting to get some chiseled features there. Starting to look like
What?
a starting to look like a teenager. All right. You say so. So listen, I was going to go on to some other letters, but I realized that we didn't finish what we started last week. So we're going to go back to the words dua, and next week we'll be covering the word salat. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Let's begin as always with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And I'm going to go immediately to pull up notes from last week. We'll start there with a refresher, kind of recap, and then we'll go into additional information. You ready for this ride, Mahdi?
Mhm.
You ready for the ride? I
Yep.
call it a ride. When I teach, I call it a ride. Because you got to get in and you got to put your seatbelts on. Your seatbelts adjusted?
Yep.
Okay, good. Here we go. Moving down the track, Mahdi learns meanings for the words Du'a and Salaat. This is part two. On Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. I'm going to read the recap and then I'm going to hand it over to you immediately afterwards. The first word we started talking about last week was Du'a. And fellow listeners, if you're not familiar with last week's class, simply go to last week's class on YouTube. I believe that date was May 5th, 2023, so that you won't be lost in what it is we're getting ready to discuss today. So the word dua, which is a popular word amongst Muslims, are the three letters dal, ain, wow. And it means to seek, to desire, to ask, to demand, to call upon, to invoke, to ascribe, to cry out, to call out to prayer, or call out to pray, supplicate, petition, require, etc., etc. And it's normally used in our communication with our source creator, whom the Quran calls Allah. Other people say God, other people say other things. It's the same thing. When you're attempting to communicate with the one who you understand is the one who created you and the one who supplies all of your needs, then that's called dua in the Quran and in the Arabic language. And we were showing you where that word is actually located in the Quran itself. It's in the second surah or chapter, verse 186. And it says, and I'm going to say it in Arabic, Mahdi, and then I'm going to ask you to repeat it after me, okay? Even though you don't know what it says. Got it?
Mhm.
Okay. Wa, you have to say it immediately after me. Wa,
Oh, wow.
إذا
إذا
سألك
سألك
عبادي
عبادي
عني
عني
فإني
فإني
قريب
قريب
أجيب
أجيب
دعوة.
دعوة
There it goes. Dawah. See, it's right there, right? Say it again. Da'wata
دعوة
الداعي.
الداعي
Here it goes again, but it's in a different form. إذا
إذا
دعاني.
دعني
Here it goes again, but it's in a different form again. إذا
إذا
دعاني
دعني
فليستجيبوا.
كليت.
Let me say it
What'd you say?
again. This is actually one word. It got cut into two. فليستجيبوا.
فليستجيبوا
Excellent. لي
لي
pardon me, I'm getting ahead of myself. وَلْيُؤْمِنُونَ
وليؤمنون
وَلْيُؤْمِنُونِي.
وليؤمن وليؤمنوني
Good. لَعَلَّهُمْ
لعلهم
يَرْشُدُونَ.
يرشدون.
Excellent. Okay. Now, give me what it means in the English interpretation or translation.
When my servants ask thee concerning me, I am indeed close to them. I listen to the prayer of every suppliant when he calleth on me. Let them also with a will listen to my call and believe in me, that they may walk in the right way.
All right. So the bottom line here is that when we communicate with Allah, when we communicate with our source creator, it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we're talking about a two-way communication. We mentioned that last week. Let's continue. Now look at this letter D. As mentioned, the word in Arabic, the ancient word for door in Arabic is the letter dal. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of Muslims don't know that. A lot of people who grew up speaking Arabic don't know that because it's not the common word for door. They think that the common word for door is the word bab. Can you say that?
Bab.
Yeah, B-A-B. And Muslims all over the world think that when you say bab, you're talking about the door, like this door right here, but that's not true. This is not bab. You ready to see what bab is? Bab is this space between this door and outside, this what they call a threshold right here. That's bab. This is dal. You have to open dal or lift the dal up if it's a curtain. And then once you take that step across the threshold that will put you into another space, that threshold is bab. Explain that back to me if you can.
So the door right there, the actual door is called a dal, and the outside, the space outside is the threshold called bab.
Okay. It's not the space outside. It's stepping into the space. That is the threshold.
So is that the space out? So is it? What is it
I'm going to show
specifically?
you where it is. You see my arrow?
Huh?
Right here. Right here. Between the door and whatever the next space is. It's not the space, that's different. It's just the threshold, meaning there's a limitation here. Once your foot goes over this threshold, then you're in a whole nother space. It's not the space. That's the space out there. That's not that. That's not bab. That's the space out there. But the door is dal. The threshold that you have to step over is bab. Explain it to me again.
Okay, so the actual door is dal, and bab, the threshold, is the space between the door and the threshold.
Perfectly put. Okay, so keep reading. Oh, keep in mind also that the letter dal is D-A-L, and what other letter interchanges with the L?
Oh, ra,
That's correct.
dar.
Now you see how we get the word door with R in it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If I take the R off and put an L there, then it's dal all over again, right? But because they two interchange as letters, as consonants, then one can represent the other. Is that cool or what? You ready to keep reading?
Yep.
All right, go right ahead.
Dal is a partial mystery. Dal, part of the body, the firmly rooted tooth, something hard inserted into a foundation which is not easily removed. What is above the gums can be seen, but what is beneath the gums remains a mystery.
Okay, so here's a picture of the firmly rooted tooth beneath the gums and above the gums. All right. If you give me a nice bright smile, I can see everything that's above your gums, but I can't see where the gums are actually rooted. Pardon me, I can't see where the teeth are actually rooted into the gums. Make sense? Can you explain that back to me?
So when you smile, you can see the teeth and the lightness and show out, and yeah. But you can't see the under part down here, firmly rooted foundation, a partial mystery.
That's correct. Excellently explained. Very good. Okay, so we're dealing with something that is a partial mystery, and it's partial because you can see some of it, but then you can't see some of it. So it's not a total mystery, it's a partial mystery. Let's make these connections now. Continue to read, please.
The English capital letter D resembles a half moon. One side of the moon is lit while the other side remains a mystery. Dal also represents the threshold, doorway, where the conscious mind and the subconscious mind meet.
All right, so we're about to go deep. That's why I told you put on your seatbelt. Still on?
No, I threw it off. Didn't need it.
You're going to need it now. We're going deep. Strap
I
that.
think it's it.
No, I want to see you put that belt on.
I just need a thinking cap. That's all I need.
Oh, that's all you need? My
Yeah.
man. All right. Hey, man, that's confidence right there. I like that. All right. Let's keep going then. All right. So Tao represents that threshold we spoke about at the doorway where the conscious mind and the subconscious mind meet. Now, can you see in this picture of the moon how the half that's lit, we know what that looks like, but the half that's not lit, unless you already know what the moon looks like, you have no idea what's on the other side. Okay, so it represents what Dal represents. It represents what your teeth rooted into the gums represent. You can see the portion that's above the gums, but you can't see the portion that's rooted beneath the gums, unless you're a dentist and you already know what that looks like. So you have to know what's on the other side. If you don't, then it's a mystery. Now, let's look at the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and how they meet. Look at this. On the left is the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. How much of the mind do they say is conscious?
10%.
10%, which leaves what percentage as being subconscious?
90.
All right. So I don't know if you can see this on your screen, but it says that the conscious mind is in control of your willpower, your long-term memory, not the short-term memory, but the long-term memory, logical thinking, that means rational thinking, and critical thinking. That means breaking things up into little parts and examining each part. They call it analytical thinking, critical thinking. And the subconscious mind, I don't know if you can read that. Is it too small for you?
No, I can read it.
Okay, go ahead.
Subconscious mind, 90%. Beliefs, emotions, habits, values, protective reaction, long-term memory, imagination, intuition.
All right, so that's a lot of stuff there that the subconscious mind is kind of controlling. All right, so we're going to consider this top part the same as we're considering the top part of the teeth that protrude from out beneath what's beneath the gums, the roots. All right, if you can clearly see the connection between the picture on the left of the iceberg and the picture on the right. Tell me what they have in common again.
Oh, they both have a partial mystery, and not all of it's used. I mean, all of the for the teeth, it's
Anything
both
else?
of them are rooted, rooted.
Yeah. And as far as the percentages go, where's the greater percentage in both pictures? Is it above the surface or beneath the surface? Look at the
Oh,
picture.
like which one?
Look at the pictures. Is the greater percentage of that object above the surface or beneath the surface?
Beneath.
Exactly. Exactly. So if the greater percentage of your mind is your subconscious mind, then that should tell you that it's very important to know what the subconscious mind is and what the subconscious mind does. Does that make sense? All right, so tell me some of the other things that the subconscious mind does again, so we can know what to really focus on in ourselves, to understand ourselves better. What should we be studying? What should we be thinking about?
Beliefs, emotions, habits, values, protective reactions, long-term memory, imagination, intuition.
Yeah, what is a belief, Mahdi? Give me an example.
When it's like you believe this thing will grow. You have faith in it.
Good, good word.
Faith in something.
Good. Now, do you normally have trust in the things that you have faith in?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So we can include the word trust when we start talking about faith. Okay. Now, let me tell you very quickly what the difference is between belief and faith. Faith and trust are the same thing. But let me tell you why faith and trust are actually stronger than just belief. You've seen children your age, maybe younger also, who believe in Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does that make Santa Claus real?
No.
Okay. So because you believe in something, it doesn't necessarily make that thing real. Now, you can believe in things that are real, but belief is like the weakest form of having faith in something. People think Santa Claus is going to come and put the presents in there, whatever, on the 24th at night when they're asleep and all of that. And children all over the world believe that, but we know it's not true. So they're putting their hopes in something that's not really true. So belief is like a weak, weak, weak form of faith. But the reason that you want to have faith in something is because it has been proven to be trustworthy. So for instance, if you, let's say you're working on your farm, if your mom and dad didn't have faith in you to do the right things for the farm and for the chickens and for what other animals you have out there, to take care of those animals, to know when to give them water, how much to give them, what kind of feed to give them, you had to have proven yourself already, right? After they trained you or taught you what to do, you had to have proven that you know what it is you're doing. And that's the reason why they have faith in you. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
That would be the reason why they trust you to do those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't have to think twice. They say, Mahdi, go feed the chickens. You're not going to go get a big bucket of cow meat to feed the chickens. You're going to go get the chicken feed to feed the chickens. And they trust you to do that. If I were to ask someone to build me a house, am I just going to go to anybody and say, well, because he believes he can do it, I'm going to let him do it? He told me he believes he can do it. Is that all I'm going to look for when I try to find somebody to build me a house?
You have to have you have to know you have to have faith and trust. Because if he just believes he can build a house, doesn't mean he can. Because like he might, yeah, like he'll try to build a house, but he maybe like build a doghouse.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, right. So I have to look for somebody who's got a track record, right? For doing it right.
It's like this guy is like he's like I believe I can build a house, but he's a mechanic. And the next thing you know it, your heart your house starts flying away. Like,
Yeah, or let's say it might even look nice, and as soon as you slam the door, the whole thing falls apart. He's oh, I forgot to put the foundation in. Whoops, foolish me. I got excited and I forgot the foundation. Oh, also I forgot to put the windows in securely. So when you close the door, the whole thing becomes a house of cards, right? Just starts falling down around you. So you only trust people who have a track record. See, the reason why we trust Allah as our source creator is because Allah has a track record. Yeah, he's got a track record, and that record is way older than we are. It's older than the universe, Allah's track record, because Allah has always been here and always will be here. So it makes sense to put your trust into somebody who was always here, always knew what was going on, and has a knowledge of everything that will happen. What better source can you put your faith in? There's no better source than Allah. Does that make sense to you? All right. I need you to speak so people can hear you if they're just listening to it in their car or something.
okay, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is the same thing. The conscious mind is above the surface. The subconscious mind is below the surface, and it occupies the most mass. Your teeth has a portion of it that's above the gums, and it has a longer portion that's beneath the gums. You see, when Allah creates things, he says that he creates and then he repeats his creation. See, this is an example of how Allah repeats his creation. He repeats it through patterns. Fitrah means patterns. And Allah repeats things through patterns. Just like cotton, where does cotton come from?
A plant.
Yeah, a cotton plant. That's right. In the field, we grow cotton. But if I were to take a piece of cotton and put it in my hand and then ask you to look around and tell me what's the closest thing that you see that might resemble this cotton, what would you say? Looking up or down?
The plant?
Mm, no, the closest thing.
Cloud, cloud,
There
cloud.
you go. Yeah, yeah, you got it. You got it. You told me you had the thinking cap on. I was depending on that. You came through, Mahdi. All right. So
I
yeah,
was just like, oh wait, never mind.
it's
I
all
just
right.
I looked up and I was like, oh yeah, forget about this.
You saw it in your mind's eye. See? Yeah, okay.
I saw it
So
here and then I saw it over there.
yeah, that's how that works. It means your brain is becoming more tuned, more finely tuned. All right. And I can see it in you. I can hear it. So yeah, cotton and clouds have been compared. Sometimes we might look at the wool on the back of a sheep. Even the sheep, sometimes when they travel, they look like clouds moving through the sky. You see? So Allah says that He creates and then He repeats. So why is Allah repeating things? See? Why do you think? Why is that necessary to repeat things for human beings to be able to think about?
Because if you don't repeat something, it's not in order. It's like it's kind of like the cycle of life. It goes back and around. It's a pattern. It's a circle. If it doesn't go back around, the whole thing might collapse. Just boom, everything's gone. Like there's no more creation.
Good.
It must have a pattern. Like a deer. It eats once in its life, and never eats again.
Mm.
It's like that's not a pattern.
No,
If
it's
it
not a
only eats
pattern.
once in its life, it just
Right.
died.
Yeah, you can't sustain it like that, right? Also, there's going to be knowledge that you can learn by comparing patterns to each other because the patterns are not always exactly the same, right? We know that the wool on the back of a sheep doesn't produce rain. So it's not going to be exactly the same, but it'll be similar enough for you to be able to draw some conclusions from, meaning clouds are soft, wool is soft, cotton is soft. You see what I'm saying? So they all do have something in common, but they don't always have everything in common. They still have their individuality. And that's how people are. On one level, all of us are the same. We're the same as human beings. But on another level, we have differences. But those differences are not meant so that we're going to like start despising each other or being jealous of each other or saying one is better than the other, right? I have a different skin tone than you do. Does that make me better than you?
No,
No. You have a different skin tone than me. Does that make you better than me?
no,
My hair is different, feels different. The shape of my eyes are different. I'm taller than you. Does that make me a better person than you?
nope.
Can you name some other differences that don't make one person better than another person?
Somebody's nails are bigger. Don't matter.
Somebody's what? I didn't.
Somebody's nails are bigger than others.
Okay, yeah.
Like
Nail.
so, um,
Give me a better one than that.
nose,
Okay.
hair. Oh wait, we already did that. Facial hair. Like hair like here. Like I have a mustache. It makes me better than you.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know that
Uh,
there's some Muslims who believe that if they have a beard, that means they're better Muslim than you? They say, I have a beard, and Prophet Muhammad used to wear a beard, and therefore this beard makes me a better Muslim than you. I've heard people say that out their mouths. Does that make sense?
no.
Hmm. What special power is in a beard? And they say the reason that Prophet Muhammad said that to his followers, to the Arabs, remember he's from the Arab people. He said to wear your beards long and to shave your mustaches so that you won't be mistaken for their cousins called the Jews, because the Jews also wear beards and mustaches, but the Jews don't shave their mustaches. They don't trim their mustaches. They let them grow very, very thick. You see? So because those people are cousins, they're sharing the same DNA. They might mistake themselves for each other, but I don't think you're going to mistake me for a Jewish person of that type. You understand? So then why should I shave my beard just to not look like Jews when I don't look like Jews, whether I grow my hair out or shave it? You're not going to mistake me for the cousin of the Arabs. So it doesn't make sense the way they try to position that. All right, that's a story for another day. Now, what about gender?
No, nobody really particularly better. I mean, like without females, you can't reproduce. Without males, you also can't reproduce. So you kind of need each other.
Okay, well, okay, let's say, okay, well, all right, so we need females to reproduce, but that's about all we need them for, right?
No,
Well, what else? Well, Riley, what in the world else would we need a female for?
they take care of the children. They give them breast milk, which no other animal can.
Okay, so she is extremely useful. But what if I said, well, okay, she does all of that and she can breastfeed and you sing them nursery rhymes and sing the baby to sleep. And I don't want to do all that. I can do it if I want. I don't want to do all of that. So I need her for some things, but she's really not as good as me. You agree with that?
I mean, they could. They're the ones that cook all the time, and
I can
you
cook.
know,
I know how to burn. I can cook. So what do I need her for?
well, then they do some work for you.
Say it again.
They do work. They babysit the children.
Okay.
They they can they they take care of you when you're sick.
Good. Good.
They
What about their intellect? Is that important?
yeah, some have intense intellects.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Some
What
do.
does the intellect do? What can they do with their intellect that we can do with our intellect?
Sometimes, well, they have different intellects than us. They do different things than us.
Explain.
So some things they just do better than us. It's just like it's just with them. They've just done it better. It's in their DNA.
Okay.
Sometimes sometimes their intellect processes some things better. Like when I was when I was in class, I didn't do so well. I'm a lot better at geometry now, but my other friend processed it like he processed it like that.
Mhm.
He didn't have any problem with it.
Okay.
And some some women have that kind of intellect, just like they have a different intellect than us. They see things a little different than us.
Have you
Like
ever heard of
they
women? Have you ever heard of women's intuition? Have you ever heard of that? Yeah, that's something you want to ask about because in science they have something called women's intuition. So I want you to write that word down. You've looked at it before, but I want you to let me know next week what is. So
what?
you want to write that down, intuition. And I also want you to Google women's intuition. What is women's intuition? They might very well have an advantage over us. Spell it out for me as you spell it.
Woman's intuition?
Intuition.
Oh, um, INTUITION.
Excellent. So that's your homework for next week, okay?
You
All right. You ready to continue?
one moment. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Now, one more note about the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind. Because the subconscious mind is the bigger mind, it's the more massive mind. That means that it's going to influence your life much, much more than your conscious mind. See, you can have something operating in the conscious mind and you might remember what you did this morning, but your subconscious mind remembers what you did when you were 1 year old.
I don't remember that. I don't know.
Yeah, see, in your conscious mind, you don't know, but a trained hypnotist or a trained psychiatrist, they would know how to hypnotize you and bring out what happened to you when you were 3 years old that you consciously are not aware of. You can't remember back to when you were 3. You might remember to when you were 4 or 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
And then you just remember some things that happened to you. But your subconscious mind holds, listen to this carefully, everything you've ever done. Everything that has come into your 5 senses is in a bank. They call it a memory bank. It's locked in the bank called the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
And a person who's trained, just like a dentist who's trained, he can go and he can mess around with those roots beneath the surface of your gums. You understand what I'm saying? And some of the things that he might touch on when he starts to look back in your history might be painful for you to know, just like the dentist messing around with the roots of your teeth. More than likely, there's going to be some pain involved. So that's why a lot of people don't like to go back and think about things that happened to them. You know, some people have trauma in their past. Some people were bullied in their past, and they don't like for you to ask them about their past because there's pain there, just like there's pain in this part of the tooth, the roots. Okay. If a boat or a ship was sailing and they were to run into an iceberg, it's not so much that the top of the iceberg or the upper portion of the iceberg would be the part that's going to do damage. Like if you study, what was that movie?
Titanic.
Yeah, Titanic. Yeah. See, it wasn't so much the ice on top of the water that did the damage. It was because there was so much massive ice beneath the surface. That's the reason they sank when they ran into it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just comparing patterns. Let's continue. This is good. All right, continue to read.
Conscious mind controls thinking. Subconscious mind controls emotion.
Okay,
This
stop,
is
stop. So this part of the mind, the conscious mind, the 10% mind, controls what?
thinking. Thinking.
Yeah. And this part of the mind, the 90% of the subconscious, controls what?
Emotion.
Exactly. Exactly. All right. Now continue.
This is how your relationship with Allah should be. If we practice becoming and then remaining conscious of Allah, those thoughts will eventually become firmly rooted in our subconscious mind.
Okay, let's go back to the picture. This is your conscious mind. So in your conscious mind, you're saying, oh, Allah, everybody's shouting at the masjid and all of that and all that. And they're doing that consciously, but does it necessarily mean that that has sank into their subconscious mind? Just because they're saying it with their conscious minds, does it mean that it's actually sinking beneath the surface into their subconscious mind?
No.
No, not necessarily. I can be a spy in the masjid, and I'll say what everybody else says, right? And I'm saying it consciously. I'm looking for something to tear apart. I'm faking it. I'm faking like I'm a Muslim. You got some people in the church, they're faking like they're Christians. You understand? But they really don't believe in Christianity. You have Muslims that are faking and attending the masjids and the Eid celebration and all of that, but they really don't believe in Al-Islam because it's not planted into their hearts. It's not planted subconsciously into their feelings. They really don't feel this way. So in order for you to be a complete person, you have to let those things that are going into your conscious mind, you have to repeat those things over and over again, and then you have to do those things over and over again. And eventually, whatever you commit yourself to over and over again, it's going to become a part of your subconscious mind. And it's going to become a part of how you feel. And you won't have to practice it so much like, I have to remember. You don't have to remember to brush your teeth every morning, right? It's a habit now. It's in your subconscious mind to do that. And you can't tell me what time you did it this morning necessarily because you're not paying that kind of attention to it. You don't have to. It's in your subconscious mind. So it's the same thing with faith in Allah. You do it so much that you don't have to remember to do it. You don't have to remember to believe in Allah. You do it because you're naturally inclined to do that from doing it over and over again and having faith and trust in what it is your conscious mind said you should believe. You have anything you want to say about that?
I think it's a bit dangerous to use like all of your mind
Explain.
because if you use all of your mind at once, like protective reaction, values, not like you'd maybe like how do I say it? Because if you move that subconscious mind to the conscious mind,
Mhm.
then you're not firmly rooted anymore.
This is true. You're making a very, very important and valid statement. You
You might like
can't,
overload or something.
yeah, well, here's what happens.
Because like when it's in the conscious mind, like when you have to protect yourself, it's like, when you like the knee jerk reaction, there's like a special bone, you hit it there. Your
Mhm.
knee, it moves. Like you don't even know that you move it, but it moves, just like woo.
That's
When that
right.
happens,
Yeah,
like
you're conditioned that way. Yeah.
what you don't know what happened if it became like conscious, like
Mhm.
that knee jerk reaction became conscious. That's like
Yeah,
I don't
it's a
think.
very important point you're making, and it's scientific. What you're saying is very scientific, and I'm going to show you through these pictures how I believe you're correct. You can't be on this side of the door inside the house and at the same time on that side of the door outside of the house. So it does create a conflict, right? You don't want to stretch your legs so that one leg is in here and the other leg is all the way out there. That's going to be a problem. And it's the same thing with the mind. The time that you want to be in the conscious part of the mind is when you're learning something new. You're listening to something new. Like right now, you're paying attention to me with your conscious mind. But if you keep studying this video and these notes, then everything I'm saying is going to go where? Into your memory that's in the subconscious mind. Once it's in your memory, you don't have to struggle with it anymore because you're on the other side of your mind's door. You're in the subconscious mind now. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So you're absolutely correct. You only want to be on this side of the door when you're learning. Once you've learned something and it's time for you to teach somebody else what you know, then you're on the subconscious because you got to pull it out of your memory bank. So you're in the subconscious mind now. And
Mhm.
it goes back and forth. First, the conscious mind gets it, then the conscious mind commits to it. And then eventually, after repetition, like you said it with that circle, repetition, then it goes into the subconscious mind. Okay. Just like when you eat food, let's take the teeth as the example of what you're talking about now. You eat food, and the top of your teeth is the part of your teeth or tooth that's involved in chewing. You don't chew with your roots, but your roots stabilize you enough so that your teeth can do the job that Allah created your teeth to do. And after you chew and chew and chew, what happens to that food?
Goes down your esophagus.
You swallow it, it goes down, and it becomes a part of your system, right?
Mhm.
It's the same thing with information. When your conscious mind gets it, it chews on it. It's let me try to figure this out. I can't make a decision yet. I have to chew on that. And it chews and chews and chews. Then eventually you either accept it or you reject it. If you say, oh, this is too bitter, or this is too sweet, or this is too tart, or this is too sour, or this is tastes rancid or whatever, right? Then you spit it out. You don't accept it into your system. It's the same thing with knowledge. When you start chewing on ideas and people are trying to get you to believe certain things, and somebody tries to tell you that you were born as a boy, but with modern day science, we can change you into a girl. That's what they're saying now. But the mind says, no, something's wrong with that. So you reject it, you spit that out. You don't want that in your system.
It's
But
like I'm a boy. I'm gonna stay a boy because my mind is a boy.
exactly. All right. Okay. So it's the same thing. It's the same fitra process. So you have to look for truth. You have to first go to the fitra for that truth and make sure that whatever you are calling true or whatever somebody else is trying to convince you of that's true, it has to agree with the fitra that Allah created you in. If your fitra is male or if your fitra is female, give your female fitra, give your male fitra, meaning a male pattern. a female pattern, you can change all the outside stuff all you want, but that's not going to affect all of the things that are inside. You would still have a male skeletal system. And the male skeletal system is a little bit different than the female skeletal system because Allah created the female to eventually carry babies, right? So her pelvis is built differently. It's built to support pregnancy. Yours is not. Even if you put on a wig and some lipstick and all of that, and you're still a boy. Or even if you had an operation or something, that doesn't change your skeletal structure. And it doesn't change some other things that are taking place in you. And this is a controversial topic. I might get some people writing in the comments, oh, you bigot, you racist, or chauvinist. But I don't care. I care about the fitwa as Allah created it. So let's keep going. So we'll put all of this in this hour. The good information here. Okay. I think this is where this is where we stop. So continue.
The word conscious means with choice. Once ideas become buried within the subconscious, you no longer need to think about them anymore in order to believe them. A farmer doesn't think about the seeds after planting them. He trusts that the Creator will allow the seeds to grow.
Very good.
If he plants them correctly.
If he does what?
If he plants them correctly.
That's a big part of it, right? Now, if he just throws them anywhere, it's gonna be a problem, right? Yeah. So it says here, and you learned this before, that the word conscious means with choice. So what part of the word conscious means with?
Con.
Yeah. And of course, chis, it even sounds like choice, right? Chis, choice, choose, they're all the same sound, basically. Okay? So conscious means with choice. That means every time you do something with a conscious mind, that top 10%, you're doing it because you're choosing to do that. You know, in the Quran, Allah says that he's going to punish only those people who do wrong things and evil, bad things consciously. He never says that he's going to punish people who are just doing things unconsciously or subconsciously. The word that is being used by Allah is that the punishment is coming on those people who do things with this part of the brain, the neocortex that makes choices, right and wrong. It thinks about the moral or the morality in it, and it says, okay, I know it's wrong, but I'm going to do it anyway. There's a whole group of people in the Quran who were thinking like that. Yusuf, the prophet Yusuf and his brothers, they were planning on doing something really evil to their brother Yusuf. And one of the brothers said, yeah, let us do this wrong thing now and we'll repent for it later. See, that was his conscious mind making that decision. And those are the kinds of choices that Allah says he will punish you for. He calls that part of the Quran, that part of the brain, pardon me, the Nasiya. Can you say that?
Nasir.
Nasir. Pronounce it again.
Nasir.
That's right. So let's put here the conscious part of the mind. Nasiya.
No, Nasir. Oh, I said Nasir. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I spelled it out for you. All right. Yeah. So Allah says that he's going to grab people by that part of the brain. It's called a forelock. It's where the forebrain is. So I want you to write in your homework assignment to look up what the forelock is in the brain, or put it this way, the forebrain, F-O-R-E, brain. And you have more than one, just so you know, but look that up. Where is the forelock or the forebrain? Let me know when you're finished. This is a fun lesson. And we're going to try to squeeze the rest of it in the next few minutes. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Very good. So the other thing that Allah says about this forelock, he calls it a lying, sinful forelock. Repeat what I just said. What does Allah call this forelock?
A lying, sinful forelock.
Yeah. Now let's go back to this for a moment. That means that you can only lie in the conscious part of the mind or the brain, the part that's making choices. That's the only way, that's the only place you can lie. You can't lie from the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind knows nothing at all about lying, even if it's carrying ideas that are lies. But because it doesn't know the difference, everything that makes it into your subconscious mind, it believes that it's true. So the subconscious mind is only accepting what it believes to be true, even if it's not true. That's why Allah has to be the one to judge all of this, because we can't go that deep into a person's mind to say he did it on purpose or he did that by accident. That's just the way he grew up. He grew up believing like that. See, he grew up believing that God had a son. But once it's explained to you clearly and it makes sense to the conscious mind, then you're supposed to take that information and say, well, I have to start believing something new because, God having children doesn't make sense to me. See? But if you bypass that and you block that out and you say, I don't want to deal with your concept of truth, I'm going to still believe everything that I always believe. But once that truth is in your ear, guess what? You can't ignore it. So then the person goes from being not guilty of those things, even though they were wrong, to being guilty of those things, because now they know that that's not a right idea. And that's what they'll be judged on. So this part of the brain can lie and sin, because lying and sinful are conscious acts. Lying and being sinful are conscious acts. So lying sinful forelock is the point, and you look up what the forelock is. So this is a picture of what?
You want? Oh, okay. Of a farmer planting a seed in the dirt ground, cloud
Exactly.
ground.
All right. And beneath it is what word?
Dua.
Yeah, dua. Yeah. But you're right. Planting a seed as an idea into the mind eventually goes into the subconscious mind. You're absolutely right. So we said that the word dua is a combination of the letters dal, ain, and wow. Dal, and then this little apostrophe thing here is where the ain, that letter should go. And then the A is where the W would normally go. All right, so dal, ain, and then where the A is normally where either an aleph letter or a wow letter would go. Don't worry about that right now. When you start formally learning Arabic, we'll go through all of that again. The point is that these three letters together represent asking for something or desiring or even demanding something or calling upon something. So continue reading from here. Our true beliefs.
Our true beliefs represented by ideas which have been planted into our subconscious minds, especially through repetition. Allah says that He created the human being to grow like plants grow.
Isn't that something? Allah created the human being to grow along the same pattern as plants.
Yeah, taproot. Yeah.
There you go. Break it down for me. Tell me how it happens.
So,
Start with the seed.
seed, the baby is been born, and the farmer is planting it, or the mother planting it, well, not planting it, but just metaphorically planting it in the ground, giving it support and nurturing it, nourishing it, and then taproot grows. The very first root, supporting root, grows from the very bottom
And which way does the taproot go first?
down. Just go straight down.
Okay.
And
And
this taproot, the very first root, supports it fundamentally essential.
okay. Then where does the other root go?
The other roots, they go wherever they go.
No. Which direction?
The other roots, like,
Taproot goes down,
yeah.
and it goes down to wrap around rocks or whatever so it can stay stable and firm. Then what happens after the taproot becomes secure? There's a
Oh,
root. Where does that root go? Which way? Which direction?
sideways.
Do you grow sideways?
No.
All
I'm confused here. What do you mean? I
right,
like
just slow down
so
and
this is
listen.
a taproot.
Now, which way does Mahdi grow? From baby to toddler to preteen, soon to be teenager, then young adult, then middle-aged man, then senior citizens. Which way are you growing? Are you going sideways?
No, but
Which way are you growing? There's only four choices. You're going to the left, you're going to the right. I got that mixed up, didn't I? You're going to the left, you're going to the right, you're going to continue to go down, or you're going to eventually go up. Which one?
oh, you mean like you grow up? You did
I knew you knew it.
I thought you meant like when I thought you meant after that thing. I thought you meant like the smaller roots, like the
Yeah,
smaller other roots that grow everywhere else. I thought that's what
I,
you meant. I didn't know you were
I know,
talking about.
I know you do that. That's why I was playing with you a little bit. All right. But this is good. We're at our 7 o'clock, past that 7 o'clock mark. So we're going to stop here. I'm going to draw a nice little line so we remember where we were. This is good. You're doing very well on this lesson. Very, very well. Any questions you have before we close out? Okay, we got some more to go. Man, we got about another half way to go before we finish with this lesson. So again, this is dealing with the meaning of dua, and hopefully we'll finish the meaning of dua this time next week, and we'll introduce the meaning of salat, and we'll handle it the same way that we're doing this, letter by letter. Not even my main students learned how to do what I'm going to teach you next week. Okay?
Mhm.
All right. Anything you want to say to your listening audience?
Put your thinking cap on and grow up.
Go ahead, Mandy. Hey, you want to tell them too, make sure that they order their Nunetics t-shirts. That was a plug.
Okay, I did the please as the sponsor of this show. Um, I recommend that you buy the new neck shirt.
Go ahead, Mandy. All right. Very good. Until next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
All right.